Hello everybody and welcome to This Week Tonight for tonight, April 12th, 2020. Mr. Minhas coming to you live here from the Minhas Isolation Bunker. And as always, I'll be coming to you live each and every Sunday to give you the news you need to know about. How is everybody doing tonight? Thank you, Shia. I appreciate you making it out here to the Minhas Isolation Bunker. Not only that, but you brought popcorn. What a guy. So for today's episode, and let me tell you, we have a jam-packed episode for you all today. We have a brand new segment. We have a few new friends coming on today's episode, which is very, very exciting. And as always, we have the week that was and the week that will be in calm just for each and every one of you. However, before we get started in any of that, we're going to go to our senior meteorologist correspondent himself, Jack, with the weather. Well, thank you to our senior meteorologist correspondent, Jack, for that insight into the weather. I don't know of any other way I would know what the weather is, since again, I'm stuck here in the isolation bunker and I don't see any way of getting out. All the doors are locked. Now on to what has become easily the most talked about news segment in recent memory, and that is the Minhas Top 10. To remind you, last week the Top 10 was all about The Office, where I ranked the 10 greatest episodes of The Office. And wow, the feedback was absolutely incredible. It blew my mind to know some of the amazing people that are out there that are watching this show. And let me tell you, it is just phenomenal to know that every single person who provided feedback, there were hundreds, if not thousands of people that were providing feedback. Every single person completely agreed with my top 10 list, which really is amazing. And for today, we have a brand new top 10 list. Shia, are you excited for the new top 10 list? Awesome. I'm glad he's excited. And I think you'll be excited for this one as well, because it is another one that I think is going to be a little contentious for my fans out there. And that is the top 10 greatest Disney animated movies of all time.
Well, that's easy. It's Up.
No, that is wrong. Yeah, that's absolutely not true. You gotta understand, this is the top 10 greatest Disney animated movies of all time. We're not going to include Pixar in any of those movies. So there's no Toy Stories, there's no Ups, there's no Inside Outs, there's no Cocos. Coco is a delight, though. You should watch Coco. We are only focusing on the Disney animated studio movies that you grew up with, that I grew up with. Those are the only ones that we're going to be focusing on for this segment. So let's start with number 10. Starting our list here with number 10, and number 10 is Tarzan. Now, Tarzan, it can be a bit of a contentious option here as our number 10 choice of the 10 greatest Disney animated movies of all time. But it makes the list for one reason and one reason only, and that is the iconic Phil Collins song, I'll Be in Your Heart. Now, that song, as the kids say, slaps. And that's why Tarzan is number 10 on our list. Number 9 on our list, Hercules. Again, another probably contentious one there for you. And I will be the first one to admit, I probably have not seen Hercules since I was 6. However, I still think that Hercules belongs on the list purely due to the nostalgia factor of that movie. Now on to number 8 on the list, The Little Mermaid. I saw The Little Mermaid for the first time about 3 days ago, and that movie still holds up. It came out in 1989, 2 years before I was born, and that movie still holds up. Great soundtrack for that movie as well. A little weird that she's a mermaid and she wants to be a human, but that's fine. We'll get past that. Still a great movie, Little Mermaid, number 8 on our list. Number 7 on our list, a bit of a newer film, Zootopia. Yes, that's right, Zootopia, number 7 on our list. Thanks to Miss Olette for forcing me to watch Zootopia in my class a few years ago. What a great movie it is. It is a really weird Disney movie because it touches on politics and a corrupt government, which is kind of interesting for a Disney movie, especially a movie wrapped around the fact that all these animals are these talking, moving, working beings, with some of the one of the funniest scenes ever, where he goes to the DMV and has to deal with the, like, I think it's a sloth, I don't really remember, but has to deal with that really slow talking mammal, and I think that was absolutely hilarious. Again, thank you, Miss Olette, for that recommendation and forced me to watch it with my class a few years ago. Number 6 on the list, again, a bit of a newer one, is Frozen. Now, of course, we can't talk about Frozen without talking about the unbelievable cultural impact that movie has had. Made well over $1 billion. One of if not the most successful Disney animated movies of all time. But the part that I really like about Frozen is the idea that it kind of subverts the whole notion of the princess needing the prince to save her, when in reality, what she needed to, in this case, thaw her, was her sister. And I thought that that's a really cool subversion of the Disney trope of the princess needing the prince to come and save her. In the case of this movie, it's actually the princess needing her sister to come and save her. And I think that's really, really cool. Number 5 on the list, now we're getting to some of those Disney classics, Mulan. Mulan is number 5 on this list. That's another one that I've only seen very recently within the last year. And that one still holds up. Another subversion of traditional Disney norms for what a princess can be. This is one where she takes matters into her own hands. And let me tell you, Mulan, kind of a badass. She was out there, she fights. I'll Make a Man Out of You. That's a great song as well. Mulan, number 5 on our list of greatest Disney animated movies of all time. Moving on to number 4, and that's Moana. Moana, there's not a lot I need to say about this because you have The Rock in a Disney movie as a demigod. I repeat, The Rock in a Disney movie as a demigod. That's why it's the 4th best Disney movie of all time. Moving on to our top 3, and this is where things will get quite a bit contentious. Okay, number 3 on our list, and that is The Lion King. Yes, number 3 on the list. Now, some of you will be mad about that. The Lion King is a perfect movie. I'll be the first one to admit that, an absolutely perfect movie. However, that means that the other 2 on this list are also perfect movies as well. I myself will forever be afraid of Scar, one of the most scariest villains in the history of any Disney movie. Throughout that movie, just watching Simba's journey from being a young little lion cub, working his way, figuring out retribution, and then eventually becoming the Lion King himself. That entire journey was absolutely incredible. That's why Lion King is number 3 on the list. It is not, however, number 2 or number 1, and I'll tell you why. Number 2 on the list, the second greatest Disney movie of all time, that would be Beauty and the Beast. Yes, that's number 2 on the list. Another absolutely perfect Disney animated film. Is incredible. Belle's whole journey from not wanting to be, again, a traditional Disney princess to wanting to be more than that. The Beast's crazy transformation and then trying to figure out how to be a normal person again. So many plot threads, so many big, small characters. The best character in the entire film, of course, Gaston, one of the funniest villains in the history of a Disney movie. That whole bit where they're singing his song in the bar and he's doing these most outrageous things. The best one of that one, of course, is him being the greatest spitter of all time. Just completely absurd, absolutely wonderful. Beauty and the Beast, the second greatest Disney movie of all time. And now that takes us to number 1 on the list. Number 1 on our list, and that is The Lion King 1.5. Let me tell you, you got a movie. What was the worst part about the original Lion King? Not enough Timon and Pumbaa. So what do you get? You get all of Timon and Pumbaa all the time in Lion King 1.5. What, Chaya? Wait, that's not the right answer? Let me consult my notes. Oh, sorry. That's right. That's not what I had on my notes. There must be something wrong with my teleprompter. The true number 1 choice for the greatest Disney movie of all time is Aladdin. Aladdin is by far the greatest Disney movie of all time. One of the reasons why it is easily the best soundtrack of any Disney movie of all time. Let me just go through a list of some of the songs on the Aladdin soundtrack. You have A Whole New World. You have A Friend Like Me. You have Arabian Nights. You have Prince Ali. And then you have the underrated song, One Jump Ahead, which is a fantastic song, great opening song for that film. This is a classic Disney coming-of-age story, one that is a tale as old as time, and you get to see this rags to slightly riches story of Aladdin, and you have Robin Williams in one of his best roles of all time playing the genie, and one of the most emotional Disney moments of all time, where he's eventually set free at the end of that film, and everything associated with him being set free brought a tear to this young Minhas's eye. And that right there is the top 10 list of the greatest Disney animated films, ranked again by yours truly, Mr. Minhas. If you have any issues with my top 10 list, please feel free to comment down below in Google Classroom, on Twitter, or on Instagram, wherever you are seeing this top 10 list. Again, just like my last top 10 list, I assume all the comments will be, oh my god, what a great top 10 list. But either way, feel free to comment on my top 10 list. If for some reason you don't agree with it, I would love to hear from you. But again, that is the definitive list, the top 10 greatest Disney animated movies of all time. As the world turns, so do we here on This Week Tonight. Come to you for our next segment, and that is the week that was in COM. And in that week that was, all of you Block Zeros, Block 1s, and Block 4s had the same question posed to you, and that was, if you were to be able to go on a road trip, which I know seems like it's going to be a long ways away from now, but if you were able to go on a road trip, where would you go? What are the things that you would see? What are the destinations that you would hit up? And why? So that was the question that was asked each and every one of you on Google Classroom. The other part is the assignment, the Block 1s and 4s. You had one assignment, the Block Zeros, you had another. For those 1s and 4s, it was the influences of social media. So you were looking and doing a little bit of research on different social media techniques that convince you to buy certain products or use certain products or feel a certain way. So you were looking at some of those things. And then you were looking at your social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Byte. Those are the only ones I know. There could be any number of platforms. I assume nobody uses Nexopia anymore. Nobody uses MySpace anymore, but that's okay. But you were to look at those platforms and figure out what certain influencers, if you want to call them that, are using to try to convince you to make certain purchasing decisions, which of those potential options they are using and why. So that was your assignment for that, and then you're going to do a bit of a reflection on how some of those things maybe affect the different decisions you make on social media platforms. So that was your assignment. Reminder, for every one of my Block 1s, it is due on, won't be Monday, it'll be due on the Tuesday because it is the long weekend this weekend. For all of my Block 4s, it'll be due on the Thursday of next week as well, or I guess this week that's coming up right now. Then we look at our Block Zeros, yours assignment a little bit different, looking at our personal code of ethics. So just the things that we believe in, things that we value, or things that are important to us, and putting those down on paper, explaining why we feel that way, why it's important, or why we value that thing that we wrote there on our code of ethics. And then the most important part, what are some experiences or ways in which we showed those values in the real world? So that was your assignment. So for all of you Block Zeros, yours is going to be due on Friday of this week as well. And on those days, you'll receive what your next assignment is going to be. So that was a look at the week that was in COM. And before we get a look at the week that will be in COM, we actually have another special guest for this week. And that is our senior Cool Dad correspondent himself, Mr. Bessino, to give you the lowdown on how to be a cool dad in our new segment, Cooking with Cool Dad Alex.
Hey, thanks, Minhas. Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the simplest dish to construct, but also the simplest dish to mess up. We're going to be making scrambled eggs. I make them a little bit differently because I cook for kids, so they seem to enjoy it. I hope you do too. So come on over, my talented camera person here will show you. I have all the ingredients laid out, so I have about a tablespoon of margarine, 2 eggs, about half a cup of milk. You won't be using all of that, but you have about a tablespoon of shredded mozzarella cheddar cheese and a tablespoon of shredded or shaved Parmesan cheese. And then in here we have a couple dashes of pepper, a couple dashes of salt, and a couple dashes of dill. Okay, so first off, we gotta heat up our pan. I usually go about medium-high heat. We put in our margarine, it comes off. We just kind of move it around, get it heated up. I prefer to use butter or margarine because it tastes better. It's probably not healthier for you, I know it isn't, but it's fine. And we just kind of move it around, get it working. And once the butter or margarine, I'm just gonna say margarine, once the margarine is all melted, I put the eggs straight in, and then I break them up in the pan, which I know some people like to whisk them before. I don't do that because I like to cook the eggs and just kind of, I find that they the color's better and a little bit more mixed. So here we go. I've already broken the eggs. We're moving it around. You can turn the heat up a bit just to get it cooking. And I kind of swirl it around a bit, and once it's heating up, and you can kind of see the white texture of the egg white is once it's heating up, then it's actually turning, and then once you start pushing it around, you can actually start to see them solidify. So if I just adjusting my heat, you don't want to cook them too fast, or obviously you'll burn them. I like to keep moving them around. You can start to see that it's getting that texture, that nice eggy, scrambly texture that you want. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so then what we'll do is this is a controversial choice because if you add too much milk, it'll make them super soggy. But if you add just enough, it keeps the eggs nice and moist. And I keep pushing them in the milk and out of the milk, back into the milk and out of the milk, and then that way you get a nice, it may look a little soggy now, but once the milk is all cooked off, then you have this nice fluffy texture. And now the eggs have been cooking for a couple minutes. You kind of see that they're starting to chunk up a bit. You add in your cheese. And then you just push it around inside. And if you notice, the milk is pretty well all cooked off and cooked into the eggs. Now that I'm at a high enough heat where the cheese is melting real nice. The thing is that if with scrambled eggs, if you're not watching them, that's when they burn. Alright, now I might have to dip into the spice rack to get a bit more, but this looks like it might be enough. So like I said again, this is a combination of salt, pepper, and dill. That looks like it'll be enough. Done. You can still see that the eggs look super moist and they're not burnt. Give it another minute. For some people, they'll undercook their eggs so that it's a little bit more on the gooey side, but for kids, they can't have gooey eggs. The eggs have to be completely cooked all the way through. Kids, younger kids, at least kids my kids' age. All right, turn off the heat. Presentation's not great, but the eggs look pretty good. Back to you.
Wow, thank you again to our senior cool dad correspondent himself, Mr. Bessino, to provide us his insight on how to cook the perfect scrambled eggs when you are here in quarantine. Shia, what did you think of that cool dad segment? Thanks, Shia. I'm glad you enjoyed that segment. And let me just say from the bottom of my heart, Mr. B, I know we all wish we could be cool dads just like you. Now moving on to our final segment of the night, and that is the week that will be in COM. And once again, there will be some similarities between our 1s, 4s, and 0s, and some differences in our primary assignment. The similarities will be the activity that all of you are expected to complete for this week. That activity is going to be one that's called Payback. And part of the reason why it's called Payback is it gives you a chance to figure out how you're going to deal with some of the payments associated with potentially entering a post-secondary. So this is an activity. It is an online game that you'll be going through and you'll be completing. And in that online game, you'll be going through 4 years of a post-secondary, making a variety of different decisions in that post-secondary, where you want to go to school, what your major might be, what your minor might be, making decisions on should you get a job, should you not get a job, should you go to that party, should you not go to that party, should you hang out with that group of people, should you not hang out with that group of people, as you work your way through all 4 years of post-secondary. There's a variety of ups and downs as you work your way through this little online game that you're going to be doing. So make sure that you make the best decision for yourself as you do so. Associated with this online game is going to be a reflection component as well. So you want to make sure that you complete that reflection component on the day that it is due for you, which would be a week from the day that it is given. So that is for the 1s, 4s, and 0s. And then we go to our main assignment of the week. For our 1s and 4s, it is going to be a research assignment. So it is a post-secondary research assignment. You see how everything fits in together there. You'll be researching 3 different post-secondary institutions. My assumption is most of you will use my blueprint as the focal point for where you'll be finding the information about those post-secondary institutions. And on those 3 institutions, you're going to be searching things such as where it is. You're going to be looking at the average tuition, how much it costs to live on campus, what are some of the recreational opportunities that they offer, what are some of the degrees that they offer in those institutions as well. When I say post-secondary, it's important to know that that could be a college, it could be a university, it could be a trade school, be any number of things. The assignment on Google Classroom will break it down for you into a bit more detail, and the video lesson will also show you some examples of what that will look like. So again, the 1s and 4s, that assignment is going to be available to you on the corresponding days that it is posted. Then when we look at the block 0s, you have a bit of a different assignment, and that is the My Blueprint High School Planner. So for you, you're going to be filling in a high school planner on my blueprint. Again, I'll be showing you right above here what that looks like. That high school planner, you'll be filling in the classes you either are taking in grade 10 or you took in grade 10 if you're grade 11 or grade 12 with the corresponding marks that you got for those classes, and then filling in what you either are taking or plan to take in grade 11, what you are taking or plan to take in grade 12, depending on where you are at. The important part about this high school planner is be honest about the classes you're going to take, and also notice if there are some issues with what you are posting on there. If something pops up that's a big red mark, then there might be an issue with the class you are trying to take, particularly that you might not have the prerequisite for that. After you do your high school planner, you're going to take a screenshot of that screen, send that to me along with the 4 reflection questions that go along with the assignment. So that is the week that will be in COM, a short 4-day week for you. Again, if you have any questions about any of those assignments, please feel free to send me an email. Right here below is my email, and ask me any questions about those assignments. They are due a week from the day that you work on them, so please make sure that you get them done in time. Now, that's all the time we have for episode 3 of this week tonight, April 12th, 2020. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Shaya, did you enjoy the show? Well, that's a little bit awkward, but that's okay. Again, hopefully you enjoyed the show. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at any time. I'll do my best to reply to you as soon as I can. If you have any comments about, let's say, the top 10, or potentially any comments about which type of coffee drinker you are, anything except for 1, 2, and 3, and you're a monster. But if you have any comments about that as well, feel free to send me an email at any time, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy your day off on Monday. Take care of yourselves, wash your hands, and as always, make good life choices. Good night.